Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Chairperson, all protocols duly observed. I would like to beg of you to permit me to do something. 2 days ago, on Sunday, we heard the news of the passing of one of our fellow young lawyers, Lawyer Adelaide Baba Nyakon. And so with your kind permission, I will respectfully beg that we rise and observe a minute silence for our colleague. May the soul of Adelaide Baba Nyakon Esquire rest in peace. Thank you very much. So today, we hear news about marriages being performed all over and across the country. In fact, over the weekend, we heard about 6 of our lawyers getting married over the weekend alone. And I recall meeting the bar president at one of the events, and I told them, Madam President, did you declare this year a year of marriages for lawyers? But congratulations to all our colleagues who got married over the weekend and the subsequent ones that are to come. In Ghana, when we hear about marriages, we think about the formation dances, the jollof rice, Ghana jollof or Nigerian jollof, any of that. And that one uncle who thinks that he has all the advice in the world and will not stop speaking and will not leave the microphone. But today, we are not discussing all about those beautiful memories. We are talking about something, a darker side, a troubling aspect of marriage documentation, where we have a rising scheme where people, fraudsters, and sometimes out of sheer audacity, put together things to create documents for whatever purposes. Now, these are not just pieces of papers, but they open doors to immigration scams, to property rights, among other things. And so when these things affect the very social and legal role that marriages play in our society, it affects us all. And so that is the need for us to discuss the fake marriage documents, discussing the schemes and strategies. And so we have a distinguished panel and they come with all the expertise and knowledge that they can share in their respective positions. And so we wish that we'll have a fruitful discussion. I would like to start with you, Managing Director. Can you tell us in a few minutes your general idea of this theme that has been brought to us? Marriage, fraud documentation, the schemes and strategies, in less than 2 minutes.
Well, let me start with a disclaimer. I've been Managing Director of Ghana Publishing Company for 5 years.
Well
So
noted.
I don't come with that wealth of experience. But maybe being a lawyer helps a little bit. What I have observed in the period that I have been involved in the production of documentation, and for the Ghana Publishing Company, for those who are not aware, we are the sole publisher of the Ghana Gazette. And the Ghana Gazette is basically the official document that has the records of... Okay, thank you very much. So the Ghana Gazette is that document that has the records of which churches, for instance, are licensed and gazetted where you can perform your weddings, which pastors are qualified, for instance, to officiate your marriage, and in the absence of which your marriage is either void or voidable, and so it is a very important place. What we have observed within the period is that the whole marriage industry is one industry where people almost intentionally milk. And so people, instead of going through the process, a lot of the times decide to cut corners, and we don't even charge much as a concern. Decide to cut corners to produce, for instance, fake gazette for pastors, or some of the pastors don't know at all that they need to be gazetted. And so the first place where fake marriage documents emanate is the absence of the list of pastors in the gazette, or the church where you're getting married in the gazette, And a lot of the times, for other people who intend to commit fraud, some of them foreigners, some of them Ghanaians, a person who is already married under the ordinance, to come and change his name, publish a new name in the Gazette, and have 2 homes. And so you have cases where one person is known as Nana Kwesi Bueti, married to Mrs. Shelley Bueti, and has another home maybe in Tamale, where he's known as Justice Bempa, and he's married to Mrs. Bempa. You know, for instance, it is even worse in foreigners, people who are legally married where they live, who have come to Ghana, who have met somebody, and they know that because he's already contracted a marriage under the ordinance, he's not entitled to take a wife, changes his name, takes on a completely new identity in Ghana, and sets up another home. Well, I'm sorry for you, but the truth of the matter is that you will live with this man for 10 years until he dies and his wife shows up, and you know that you were never married. So, for starters, this is where we can start.
Thank you very much, Francis. I can tell director is already in high spirits.
Is beautiful enough.
Great, thank you very much. Director for 5 months. Francis, can we hear from you?
Okay, so before I begin, let me add my voice to that of Madam Chairperson when she was crying about the registration of Islamic marriages. That's under Cap 129. Just imagine, as a marriage officer, you are in your office, and these 2 couples, it happened some few months ago, these 2 Muslim couples said, we've done an outreach, we are coming to register our Islamic marriage. They were well read. They know that we, the district assemblies, the MMDAs, we are vexed with the authority to register Islamic marriages. Now, no Taje, and they are telling you that here we are to register Islamic marriages. The things are not there, the processes are not there, the structures are not there to register the Cap 129. Somebody is in your office to buy, let's say, lily rice. Now you have to convince the person that to rather take Abna rice. Because you have to convince the person, we don't have the structures to do the Cap 129. So you are forced to register the person under the customary law or the ordinance law. And those who comes with different rules and regulations. The Islam guys say, oh, me as a Muslim, I want to marry like 3 or 4 or 5. But those 2 marriages, or maybe the customary marriages, puts a limitation on you. So I'll beg the authorities in charge, should it be the Registrar General's Department, the Attorney General's Department, and the Ministry of Interior, that they should put the structures in place for us to register the Cap 129. That's the Islamic marriage. Now, to go further, somewhere 2015, we had a similar seminar. Let's say it was in the premises of the UK High Commission. In February 2015, about 150 customary marriages was brought from the UK High Commission to my office that we need you to authenticate these marriages. Now, because the processes are so porous, the processes of registering something like customary marriage is so porous that all I need is do a statutory declaration, fill the forms, add my details, bring it to the office, and it can be registered by proxy. Bring it to the office of the registrar, and all we have to do is do a notice for 28 days, and we'll register you. Now you have those documents where you have an Indian marrying a Pakistanis marrying whatever, because they knew that our marriage system was so porous, so weak, so everybody could jump into it. So when I put one name together, put another name together, I say, oh, now we've done customary, because they don't need our presence in the office. All you need is I should put the documentation together, put some evidences. Then you are forced to marry the person. If nobody comes to caveat the marriage in 28 days, what am I supposed to do? I need to register the person. In that same customary marriage instance, a lady brought an issue saying that, registrar, I've seen my signature appended to a document. I have no knowledge of it. This certificate is showing that I'm married. Now, when I look on the face of the certificate, everything looks genuine. The registrar of marriages, the one who was seated by them, his signature were there, those security features, the statutory declarations and all those things, they were there. So now, this is the marriage certificate. The person is in front of you. The person is seated in front of you saying that this is not my signature. How come am I, this certificate is saying that I'm married? What are you supposed to do? All you can do is say that, yes, on the face of it is true. We directed the person to the authorities, to the police, to handle the case because now it's beyond us. All what I'm saying, there are plethora of examples I could give. People could come. Now they say that per the law, a marriage officer certificate as in a church. So meaning that the pastor can grant a marriage certificate to you, the individual. Me, although I am there too much, so I don't think about the processes about getting married. All I do is I go to Jesus is Power Ministry. I don't check if they have the right gazette to officiate the marriage certificate. Now these people come and they bring a copy of their marriage certificate and you ask them, what shows that this church has been gazetted to marry? You go through, the church has not been gazetted. Maybe the people will use the document for about 20 years, 30 years, and they'll tell you that, oh, we have a case in court or there is an issue with Home Office in UK or something. Now, kindly check if this certificate is genuine. Those cases come to us, and it's so unfortunate that maybe somewhere in Abraka, somebody have printed certificate for them. They've used that certificate, that's the foundation of their marriage, for 20 years. Now the man is diseased. The person needs to go and take some spousal benefit or something. Now they come to me. And one way or the other, person found a way, knew that, oh, they brought the certificate to Mr. Kane to verify. The person is in front of you. Chief, in your B, in your Nofiano, my children are schooling. If you don't give this response that this certificate is authentic, everything is gone. Now, what do? You see the cry of the person, you see the certificate is fake. No, there's nothing you could do. So this thing about fake marriages, this thing about fake marriage certificate, it's so huge. It's affecting us. It's affecting our brothers and sisters even out there. It's affecting your friend. It's affecting everybody. If you don't put the structures down, we could do the sameness. We did one in British High Commission. We did one last year. Registrar General brought security features that we should do this, put embossments, put the seal, and put everything. At the end of it all, those are man-made. I could go to Adabaka, print the thing, get the embossment, get the seal, write some things, put some signature, go somewhere. I think let me end it because if I say I'll cry, my cry will be just so much because it's so disheartening when it comes to the MMDA's level. Thank you.
We appreciate your contribution, Francis. Now let's hear from the Central Regulator of the Registrar's General Department.
So, I think Ghanaians, we don't like to ask questions. We always assume things are right. So, you want to get married, and maybe you attend a fellowship somewhere, and you just assume that, okay, because my pastor is a man of God, he's anointed, the process is anointed, everything is fine. And that is when you get the shock of your life, years later, when you realize that he hadn't been licensed or the place hasn't been gazetted. Now, these issues are issues that run deep and span so many years. So in recent times, we received correspondence from the Ghanaian embassy in one of the European countries. I don't want to mention which. And in short, someone had snitched on a couple in that country. Now, this couple apparently got married in 2010 in Ghana. And this is something that is happening in 2023, where now the embassy or the authorities there are having to look into the marriage to see whether this person and that person, party A and party B, are they who they claim to be? Now, investigations revealed that they were apparently siblings. Okay, they were siblings. Now, the reason why they were able to go through the process was because in the case of party A, his mother's name was different on his birth certificate. So she had changed her name, maiden name to another name. So in the case of her sister's birth certificate has his mother's name that is bearing a different name. Now, again, between the two parties, they don't share the same surname, but they were siblings. And Party B was already outside, she had residence, so they put their heads together like, okay, let's marry on paper so that, you know, we can go out there and then you can live your lives. And they had been living separate lives for years. But in the eyes of the government outside in that country, they were married. And they had to play that role of a married couple for so many years, over 13 years. Until someone somewhere decided to notify the authorities, which triggered investigations. Now, the residency that you have attained based on that marriage is going to go away, it's going to be revoked. If you are not lucky, and there are certain penalties, maybe imprisonment, fines, whatever, that's also something you're going to suffer. So these issues, on the face of it, we assume that, you know, everything is okay, but until we ask questions, you would realize that there's a lot at play. Maybe even when you are courting someone, you shouldn't assume that this person is single. Maybe you should ask, are you a married man? Are you a married woman?
Direct question.
Yes, you should be very specific because things are really happening in Ghana. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Relut. It would appear that, Nana, in this for you, it would appear that the foundation of most of these schemes comes with the change of names. Now, how easy is it for people to just change their names, especially for foreigners?
Well, let me be honest with you. A change of name is a right that the Ghana Publishing Company can't take away. If anybody sitting here decides that I no longer like my name, I want to go and change it, we should allow you to change it. Now, that right it does not discriminate between Ghanaians and foreigners. So if a foreigner also comes to Ghana and wants to change his name, we must avail him the same rights available to Ghanaians. It's not discriminatory. This is where the problem starts. So, sitting here right now, I have notice of intention to commence legal action against the Ghana Publishing Company sitting on my desk. Why? Because an application for Gazette came. As the MD went, and I have given indication that when certain types of applications come, bring it to my desk. When I looked at it, I said no, I was not convinced that this application must go through. The people have gone to see a lawyer. They intend to apply for a mandamus to compel me to gazette them. Of course, I will go and make a case, but it will be in the hand of a judge to decide. But let me give you a quick picture of how you get a gazette. To get a name change gazette, you have to make a statutory declaration. So you need to swear to certain facts on oath. So you say, for instance, that I was born and christened Nana Kwesi Boete. I've come to know that the Boete is the name of a rival family or a deity. I'm a Christian now and I do not wish to be associated with that name. I wish to change my last name from Boete to XYZ. This is justification that you want to change your name. You have invoked a right which I can't do anything about. Now, when we get the statutory declaration, we ask questions. So, if you first claim that you were born Nana Kwesi Boete, there must be a source document. Where is your birth certificate? Then some will say, I have since, maybe in the course of school, my teachers misspelled my name. So I have come to have documents that have a name different from what is on my birth certificate. We request for all of those documents. Unfortunately, if in all of those inquiries, the person is able to provide the answers, then we no longer have a discretion. So that is the snapshot. What then we have done, apart from asking for source documents, is that we have also introduced, because we realized that a lot of the people who do evil with the Gazette don't come to us to do the Gazette. They go to Newtown. Sometimes they come and buy a copy of the Gazette from us. They go to Newtown, clone a page, remove the pins, put it back in there, And so Gazette number 100 was a change of JBF first name to maybe AK Amwakon. But you would take the Gazette and look at the Gazette number, and this one that has been brought that is fake. You will see that Gazette number 100, which in our office bears your name, bears somebody else's name, Mrs. Juliana J. So you know that that is fake. But again, on our Gazette and in the last 5 months, if you see, the coat of arms used to be black. We've changed that to gold, but it's not for ornamental purpose. It's a security feature. You will also see a golden watermark on each page of the Gazette. It's not ornamental, it is for security purposes. So we've introduced features that make anybody who is critical and wants to find out whether or not a Gazette is fake can see on his face. Sometimes even just looking carefully at the color of that gold embossment, you can see if you are cautious enough. But I dare say that there are limitations to how much we can contribute to sanitizing this change of name which is being abused.
Linking our various records from the NIA across the birth and death registry, the Registrar General's Department, and the municipal assemblies, how is it going to facilitate a curb in the overflow of marriage fraud documents?
So, we are also working at, because like MD said, when they present themselves to you, of course, they present supporting documents. So if you don't have reason to disbelieve what they are saying because it's supported by the documents, you have to go with it. But once we are linked to systems that will allow us to also verify. So someone comes with a Ghana card and it bears a name, or someone comes with some birth certificates. If there's a means for us to also verify that document, then it comes as an added level of protection. Now, again, so you've gone through the marriage process. There's a certificate that has been issued. If we had a centralized system where we could have these certificates accessible with the click of a button, maybe immigration service, someone presents with a certificate and says, this is my husband. They could just click search the database. Do the details come up? If the details come up, is it the same person? Is it the details on the certificate that the person is bearing? So ultimately, digitalization is the way to go, because it will help us to verify the documents that people are presenting when it comes to registration of marriages, and also with verification at the end, at the level of other institutions like the immigration service, like the embassies and whatnot, who have to rely on these documents to confer some kind of entitlements, maybe residence permits, a visa, or whatnot. So yes, definitely.
Thank you. Now the second and final question to Francis. Do you think that there will be a need for amendments in the position of the law, which is to the effect that either of the parties to a marriage can just apply and have the certificate issued? Do you think that there should be a need for both parties to appear in a verification process to be carried out?
Okay, before I get that, let me marry the two suggestions they made together. When I say marry, like we said in quotes, in Lankwantana Municipal Assembly with my details. I don't need to go to Gazette to change my name to marry another woman. I drive straight to Kole Klote the next day. I could marry another person. I drive straight to Gan West Municipal Assembly. In 1 week, I could marry as many as I want. What is the reason? Because, as she said, we are not embedded in a single system that at the click of a button, you are supposed to see that is A married or not. Somebody at church A or Pentecost will say that, okay, Mawari or Sechiriaso. He can go to Tamale, marry again. That is how porous our system is. Now, back to your question. If you say the person needs to present him or herself,
Now we also have to give reference to our traditional system. Customary marriage says that the two of you don't need to be in the presence of the registrar to register your marriage. If you're doing the marriage registration process or doing the conducting of the marriage, you don't need to be there. It's the parents or the person who is standing or the families who have to meet together to conduct that marriage. Now, when we are done, what do we have to do? Apply to the registrar to do it, to do the marriage. But if we have a digitalized system that, okay, if this person presents his name or we're able to input this name into the system, now are we able to fish out, is this person married or not? Is this person in another marriage or not? Then it could assist us. Because if you should make it this way, last 2 years, for instance, if I should tell you the number of marriages we registered, almost 10,000 marriages we registered. That's just one district assembly. What about other district assemblies? What about other marriages that were conducted at churches? Now you see the quantum of marriages and how many of these marriages are correct? At the end of it all, I've given you a marriage certificate. An example is, there was this couple who came to my office. They married around 10 a.m. They had access, the lady had access to my call. The lady was from those foreign countries. He's a registrar. Can I return my marriage certificate? That was around 4 p.m. They married at 10, around 4 p.m. Registrar, can I return my marriage certificate so that you cancel the marriage? I said, why? He said, oh, I've seen some habits or maybe they have some issues. And now she's raising the question that even the people who came to witness the marriage, they are the guy's sister and friends who witnessed the marriage. What do I have to do? Nothing. All I required was what? The couple and 4 witnesses. Once the witnesses are of sound mind and of the age, they can witness for you. You are done. Omari Ote. By the end of it all, how credible, how secure is this marriage certificate? At the end of it all, the root of it is what? Digitalization. If we're able to make sure that all these areas, the churches, the mosque, the registrar general, at the end of it all, we are on a single platform. When by a click of a button, I'm able to see that, oh Lord, Mr. Kane is married to Mrs. Mildred or something. Then it means I can't marry again. Sometimes me too, I want to marry plenty, but the law says that I'm restricted to just one wife. And she's listening to me. I'm sure she will be laughing. But that is the position. If we're able to put our things right, because like I said, 2015 we did security features on customary marriage. 2019 Registrar General came out with embossment, seal, and all those things. Now last year we did a marriage seminar. We came out all these recommendations. At the end of it all, you can punch you can do infrared, you can do everything. When you pass here, man will pass here. By the end of it all, if we want to put it on a general platform, that one computer no lie. Unless you are going to write your codes again to put your name into a national platform. So at the end of it all, my solution is let's put digitalization in our marriage registration process, and all these things, it will be a thing of the past.
Yes, so digitalization is the way. Nana, in a final round, do you think, as a policymaker, do you think that there is a need for a national anti-marriage fraud strategy where we look at effective ways of preventing the happening of such fake documentations rather than react to them when they are made?
No, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about digitalization. I have, and in the back room, I indicated we need legislative amendment by all means. The laws need to be tightened up. Look, if a church is gazetted, 100 years later, they can still rely on that gazette. They can't even find it. No, if the church is gazetted because it has to be suitable, then why can't they go and inspect it every 5 years? Even your passport expires, no? So why can't we go every 5 years or every 10 years and go and re-inspect it and reissue gazette or revoke where we have to? A pastor who was anointed and was registered and he could administer. Now maybe he runs a beer bar. He still has a license. Why?
You understand? I mean, a license must expire at some point. Your driver's license expires. Why can't why can't the license of a pastor who can officiate a marriage expire? But the law doesn't say anything about that, so I can't say it has expired. The registrar was asking me. I said, well, if you come and you say you were gazetted 30 years ago and you couldn't keep the document, the name of the game is evidence. Go and gazette a new one at the very least. But there must be proper regulation and enforcement of law. I am of the view, and I might be wrong, but if a pastor officiates a marriage, knowing well, and ignorance of the law is no excuse, so knowing well that you are not gazetted to do that, or even if you didn't know. But for me, it's defrauding by false pretenses, no? You make a representation, that representation that you are qualified to officiate a marriage is void. People came to your church, they gave collection, offered to you, took it. The couple even brought you a car as a gift. After which we realized that the marriage wasn't valid. How can there be punishment, even within the current context of our laws? You know, and there are many other sanctions, but you realize that the sanction regime is non-existent. So 3 things we can do. 1, let legislative, reformation come. 2, let the sanctions regime work. And 3, let's embark on serious educational drive to let people understand the implications of these things. That's the only way we're getting anywhere with this matter.
Thank you very much, Nana. Just when we're having an interesting conversation, for the sake of our time, we'd have to pause here for the subsequent panels to come. But 3 things that we'll take: that we need to educate, we need to get into digitalization, and we need to make the non-existent sanction regime present so that these things can be kept. Thank you very much.
Just a second. Our time is running, but there is a Q&A session. So I think, with your honest, maybe we'll permit just 2. Maybe a gender balance, one from a gentleman and one from a lady. So once you... Quickly. So you tell us your name, maybe the institution you are representing, your designation, and then you post just one question, a quick one.
I'm Eugene Oforutiti, Church of Pentecost. In Ghana, if you establish an institution, you have this certificate to commence business and all those documents. So you are supposed to display these documents at your premises. With the marriage registration of churches, can we enact a law to enforce that thing also, that if you are registered, it should be displayed conspicuously at a point or a place in your church? Thank you.
About legislative reform. If the law says we should do so, then it will be. I think it's brilliant. The law doesn't say we should do so, so it is not there. If we did some reforms in the legislation, this should be one of the things that should be in there.
If I can quickly add up, so at Registrar General's Department, we are working on amending the current laws and also coming up with a manual and guidelines that we can put some of these things in. Because usually when you put certain things in laws, it's difficult to amend. But we could have guidelines and manuals that can guide the churches. And in recent times, we've done some work with the Christian Council as well. So we do sensitize them from time to time. So these things are things that we are working towards, and we can definitely implement that. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So I think we'll take the last and final question, preferably from a lady. We want to do the gender balance before we get, someone in court. Okay, so if there is any question from any lady from here, okay, good, we have one. So your name, your designation, where are you coming from?
All right, my name is Nanecha. I'm from JP Trustees Limited. I'm the transport manager. My question is, with the license that you spoke about for pastors to officiate weddings, and then the fact that we should be able to renew those licenses. I want to know, in case it comes about, and or in a situation where someone is a pastor, officiated a wedding, is no longer a pastor, does that make the certificate, because when we are getting married, we know the certificate is lifelong. So does that make the certificate null and void because of the person who signed off as the pastor? That's my first question. Then my second question is, if you want to gazette a place or a church to be able to sign off in a marriage certificate, on a marriage certificate, what are the things that you look out for, and how do you regulate to ensure that the places that people are getting married are gazetted? Thank you.
Well, so they do all the work. I do the gazette.
Okay, let me take it from the last end where you are asking what processes needs to be done before a church is gazetted. Now, the church needs to be gazetted or registered within the district where it's located. So let's say Action Chapel is around Okankwe North Municipal Assembly. If they want to register Action Chapel, then they need to go to Okankwe North Municipal Assembly. That's where officers from the assembly will come to the place. They will check your places of convenience, your parking space. If it meets all the basic requirements, then they'll give you a certificate of occupancy. You don't end it there. Now you take it to this man. So once we have given the structure that it's okay for people to occupy, it's okay for this service or this event to happen there, that's all that we do, because we need to look at the premises, we need to look at the safety of the people that will be coming there. So all those things are satisfied. Then we recommend you to the Attorney General's Department through Ghana Publishing House and do your gazette.
And you come, we look at their certificates. If they are there, we'll gazette for you. Okay. And the other one, if it's that's the part. If the man was a man of God today, tomorrow he's sending a petition. It doesn't matter. Once he's gazetted and had a license, until the license is officially revoked, he is qualified to officiate your marriage, which is my problem. It shouldn't be a lifelong license. So I am saying that every 5 years or every 10 years, depending on what we will agree and put in statute, we will have to reevaluate the status of the person to see if they must continue to hold that license.
I need to add up to that. So when it comes to licensing of the reverend ministers or the priests, okay, they are tied to denominations. So you can't even have, or it shouldn't be the case where, let's say, a reverend minister in the Methodist church goes to officiate a wedding in a charismatic church. It doesn't work like that. Now, there are so many things leading up to the validity of a marriage, and time will not allow me to go into it. But just to give a quick overview, if you are going to get married in a church, you go to who we call the marriage officer, that's the licensed priest. You file your notice of intention to marry. There will be publication of banns for 3 consecutive Sundays. After that, he will issue what we call the marriage officer's certificate. And after the issuance of the marriage officer's certificate, within 3 months, you need to get married. So if you miss any of these steps, that's a problem. If you want to get married at the MMDAs, that's with the municipal assemblies, there's a procedure that must be followed. So all these things must be followed keenly. The good thing is that there's a presumption of regularity for marriages. That is what saves a lot of marriages, because if we want to really go into it, we'll find out, and Madam Chairperson mentioned that a lot of marriages are void, but there's that presumption of regularity for marriages that have been celebrated before witnesses. So until that presumption is rebutted, we deem the marriage to be valid. But of course, the Marriages Act has clearly stipulated, if you miss these things, if you are marrying in an unlicensed premise, the person who's officiating is not gazetted, there was no marriage officer's certificate, there was no registrar's certificate, the marriage is void.
Right, thank you very much, our moderator and distinguished panelists, for doing justice to our first panel discussion. I'm sure you really enjoyed it. Fake marriages, new schemes and strategies. Thank you very much, JB and panelists. Thank you very much. At this point, please, you join us out so we take the group photography with the organizers. Thank you.